Good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, August 12th, 2025, and the time is 6:02 p.m. I now call this meeting of the Urban Design Commission to order. Pursuant of Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, this meeting of the Urban Design Commission is conducted via remote participation, and we will make recordings available upon request as soon as possible after the meeting. My name is Estelle Organet, and I am the co-chair for tonight's meeting, and we will start with a roll call of the commission members present. Andrew Arbaugh, absent. Deborah Finnick,
Here.
Tim Talon,
Here.
Martin Pavlinik,
Present.
and Frank Valdez.
Here.
Great. So with 4 members present, we do have quorum. And our first order of business is the approval of the May 13th, 2025 meeting minutes. So I think this was a meeting attended by Andrew, Frank, and Tim. So similar to our conundrum last week, I think because we don't have Andrew at this meeting, we will not be able to approve the meeting minutes, and we'll have to table this for the next meeting. And I think the same goes for the June 24th meeting minutes. So similarly, there was no quorum, but it was attended by Deborah and Andrew. So without Andrew, we won't be able to attend, and we'll also table this for the next meeting.
I actually attended the meeting on the 24th.
Never mind. Wait, so it was Tim and Deborah, so we can approve these, is that right?
They were the only 2 attendees.
Yes.
Yeah, you can approve them then.
Great. So is there a motion to approve the minutes for the June 24th UDC meeting?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Great. The motion passes. Perfect. And see. So our next order of business is the design recommendations for 1 Myrtle Street. And so this is led by Steve. And so no motion is required for this item, but the rules of policy and procedure state that the UDC needs to review the written recommendations once completed by the case planner. So if there are no concerns, we can move on to design reviews. Any questions or comments? So this was, oh yeah, the demo of the deck in the sunroom edition.
Yeah. No complaints. No questions.
Great. So I think we can move on to design reviews. And so we will start with 32 Webster, and the case planner is Kit, who is here with us. We will need to vote on facade options, design guidelines, and any additional design guidance. And so this is for an MR4 apartment building of 29 units. Let's see, and there's a attendee. So Phil Sema has raised. And so it looks like Phil, you will be presenting, is that correct?
Yes, and we should have somebody else from the landscape team that might raise their hand. Oh yeah, I think Michael. Hi, Michael. Yeah. So yeah, let me kick it off. Good evening, everyone. Philip Sema from Balance Architects.
Yep, and just a reminder, you have 20 minutes. Sorry about that.
Okay, I don't think it will take 20, hopefully. I'm not able to share. It says sharing is not turned on.
Yep, Lexi will get to that.
Okay.
You should be able to share now.
Okay. Yep, looks great. Well, thanks everyone. So we got some great feedback from our last meeting, and we came up with some other facade iterations. I'm not going to go through the old options that we had, but I will just kind of land on the last option, which was the one that the UDC asked us to explore. And then we'll go through landscape plans and architectural site plan updates as well. So out of our 3 options that we looked at a couple of weeks ago, this was the one that we landed on. So it's a mix of fiber cement panels and then a phenolic resin panel in the middle where the entrance on the building is on Webster. Again, it's a very long building, so we're trying to break up the massing of the facade. Generally, got good feedback with this scheme on Webster. And again, this is facing the rear yard here. I think there was generally positive feedback, but where we needed some work was this is the corner of Webster and Newton, and that it just wasn't really doing justice to this really unique geometry on the site where everything's kind of sloping away, and this is coming right into the middle. That we should do more to kind of celebrate this facade and make it unique at the corner. So with that in mind, we came up with several design options and iterations of this. So the first basically creates balconies on the corner and uses soffitted balconies with kind of angles using that same material to kind of create some really kind of interesting rugged geometry that is at the point of this building. You really see it here. So quite a bit different from what we were looking at before, and some really nice, outdoor space for those units on the corner. And then you can see how this looks on the side. Again, it's kind of this nice piercing geometry that accentuates the corner. So that's option one, and I think our favorite from the options. We came up with another more muted option, but still really celebrates that corner. So what we've done is introduce some Juliet balconies over here. So you can see this from here. So it just really pops the fenestration, makes it much kind of more light and bright on that corner. And again, add some nice amenity space. They still have full balconies in these units. They also have the ability to kind of really open up onto the street. So that's what we're looking at here as well, kind of that chamfered edge. And then our third design option really looked at changing the material and fenestration patterns on that corner. So, it's varying between this kind of like olive color, where the windows are and where this is, and that jogs up and down throughout the entire facade. And then we've also introduced kind of a stronger cornice up here. That was something that was a comment as well to kind of give some pronunciation to this edge. You can see what this feels like on the corner as well. There were some considerations too about this red material and where it ended before it kind of stopped short of the 4-story massing. Now we've taken that and it carries around. This bay is now the same material type as before. It was kind of tan. This tan material was coming along here. And also looking at fencing. So we have a couple options along here. We've removed the pad-mounted transformer and now making it a manhole transformer, which Michael and myself will talk about in the landscape updates. But looking at kind of like a panelized metal facade, I think this is from Parasoleil, versus just kind of like a contemporary wooden fence, really long kind of horizontal edges that link back to some of the materials in the building. So those are the kind of fence options and the general treatment of the rear. Just going to quickly go to the architectural site plan updates, and then we can do landscape updates as well. So the big one was just that we were really struggling to get the pad-mounted transformer in there and to screen it, and just I know neighbors don't really like that, so that was a big move that we did to make this a manhole transformer. We had some small vegetation options at the front, really with that 12-foot wide sidewalk setback and the limited green space, plus the harshness of this corner, that just wasn't really a viable option at the end of the day. So architecturally, and then here we've coordinated more with the landscape, which I'll just have Michael review right now.
Hi, I'm Michael Jokum from Verdant. Thanks for having me. Piggybacking off of what Phil said, with our landscape, the two main changes to the site plan were the transformer as well as the plant bed that we had originally at the corner of Webster and Newton Street. We removed that as Phil mentioned, the setback. And when we're looking at a corner, our main goal is to have it walkable and accessible. And it felt like that was getting in the way of both sightlines and walkability. Moving up to the transformer pad, as Phil mentioned, we had trouble fitting in the pad mounted transformer, so we moved to a transformer vault. Around that, we want to add some permeable paving. And another comment we had received earlier on was that the fence that we had originally around it was a little bit too traditional. So we were looking at going with some sort of 6-foot height horizontal slat fence or some sort of metal fence from Paris Olay. So those would be the two main changes to the landscape plan. Thank you.
And that's pretty much all that we have for the presentation. So I'll just leave it on this last design option and open it up for comments.
Thanks, Phil and Michael. Any comments from the commission? Frank, if you're talking, you're muted.
Sorry. Phil, I had a question for you on the manhole transformer that you mentioned. Have you had a discussion with Eversource about that?
Yeah, we have. So actually, originally we had the pad mounted transformer because we said you'll never get a manhole transformer. We've dealt with the 1 to 3 year wait list, all this stuff, but now we're getting transformers. So we're installing some like right now. So I feel confident by the time this is ready for a transformer in like 2.5 years, there won't be this supply issue delays that were happening during COVID.
But by the manhole, that means that you're burying it below. You're creating a hole and you're putting it below ground, right?
Correct.
Which, from my experience, I just want to confirm, in Somerville, we tried to do that, and there was some pushback from Eversource on the whole, the idea of putting these things above, ground level, so that in case of a flood or in case of, excessive rain, you are, above the plane of that. Have you had any of those discussions? Because we haven't gotten one approved in over 5 years. So I want to make sure that if it is going to happen, that you are allowed and that you have had those discussions with Eversource. And if we continue to move forward with that, I would really like to have an alternate design that shows, in case in 2 years when construction starts or Eversource finally begins to answer questions, right? Because we know how Eversource works, that they don't change their mind and they go, no, this is not according to our plan, and you need to put it above ground, above, our level of resiliency. And where I know that obviously you presented it above ground, but I think that you should have an alternative that shows what would happen in case that gets rejected, and that would be something that would need to be reviewed as well. But I would suggest that those conversations, and Stello, I know that this is complicated because we don't really dictate and communicate with Eversource constantly, and we have seen mishaps happen, as it is evident in Union Square, as Tim has pointed out, in some of the buildings. We don't want that to happen. So I know Cambridge does not allow them. I know Cambridge does not allow anything below their resiliency of like elevation 29. So that's the one comment that I would make on that. Just be careful. We should all be careful on that.
Well, I'm curious what the elevation of the transformer is in an underground vault relative to the 100-year floodplain.
I don't know, but we are at the top of a hill. This is kind of like at the top of Webster, and it all just sheds down back to Union Square. So we haven't talked with Eversource because we are early on in the project.
Very early. Like I know Cambridge, Tim, is elevation 29. That's their, you have to be above that. So if anything is under that, which many areas are, they have established I think it's 29.7 actually. So that's what I just want to add it as a footnote, so that it's something that we continuously just carry, because
Yeah, and I appreciate the comment. I appreciate the effort to put the transformer in the vault. I think that's the right approach. Or sorry, the underground vault. I think that is the right approach. But just confirming feasibility. Um, in my experience, EverSource has been open to those early stage conversations. So I think, if there's the opportunity to speak to them before this project goes to the planning board, so you can state affirmatively they're at least aware of your plans to locate the transformer and the specifics of it, that would be really helpful.
Sure.
Um,
And Phil, can I ask you why the image that you have currently on the screen is not your preferred? And
No, that is our
oh, it
this is
is
our
your preferred. Okay, I thought it was the
Yeah,
one with
yes.
the Juliet balconies. I thought that's what you said because I was like, really, this is not your preferred? Um, I I went through I wasn't part of the initial one, but I read through the meeting notes, so I read all my colleagues' comments and stuff, and I would have to agree that about the corner condition. Um, and the material, the red material, is again an equitone.
It's
So it is an equitone. So it's equitone. So it is a through color solid cement panel that would be face faceted.
Ideally not.
Okay, all right,
But
that's good. Ideally not. No, that's fine. I'm just asking the questions. Um, I mean, like the expression of it. It really just more creates more of a corner. I think that people would really want to hang out in a corner, and I think it would be used better than a Julia balcony. So I really do think that this is a good approach to it. Um, I do like the accentuation of the corner by doing this.
thanks.
I agree. I like the architecture of it. There's a dynamic quality to it. It provides a level of interest at that corner, which I think is really nice. What's happening at the ground floor there? Yeah, exactly. So the grade is sloping up towards the corner, and then there's that second floor balcony sticking out. It looks like it's a relatively low clearance under that.
Yeah. So yeah, typically like Somerville wouldn't allow you to do that when it's over the property line. But we are not over the property line here. All that is within our property. So it's basically, our property is this kind of hatched area. So it really
Yeah.
just extends out to there. We haven't had another conversation with ISD or staff after our last one. We think it's still consistent with the zoning ordinance, but there might come a point when they tell us, it has to start from the third floor. But right
Yeah.
now, it's all within our property.
So can you walk under that balcony? Does the sidewalk extend underneath the second floor balcony?
Yeah, the same paving material,
And,
essentially the sidewalk, but it's on our property.
and approximate, what's that clearance? Is it,
It's pretty low. It looks about 11 feet to the peak or something.
I think it looks less. Looks like
Yeah.
6 or 7 to me.
Well, this guy, I mean, he's got some feet in the sidewalk, but
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that measurement right now, but
So I think that'll
I
be
think
just be
it's
something important to confirm. I mean, if it's overhanging the public realm, I don't know exactly what what zoning ordinance requires for bays that do overhang the property line. I know code has a requirement for that too. But I think it probably wants to be at least, you think of the height of someone standing up on a bike or something, um,
right.
9, 10 feet.
Yeah, we can confirm that.
And I'm not sure it changed, if you did end up losing that because there wasn't proper clearance, I'm not sure it changes the approach. I think it's still a dynamic and interesting architecture, even without the second floor balcony.
But
Um,
it seems like you have a lot of meat there, perhaps, Tim, and maybe it doesn't need to be the Angry Birds kind of like, uh, beak in that floor, and maybe it changes aesthetic, but that you still have potentially a balcony without all of that dead space inside, perhaps. I mean, I know what you're trying to achieve, but it's nice to have the consistency. So maybe there's the idea of exploring it a little bit different so that you still maintain that.
yeah, or maybe that outer edge gets even thinner,
Right.
uh, where it comes to the point once you get into real structural design.
Mhm.
My one comment, the one thing that jumped out at me was the cornice and the treatment of the cornice with the same. Um, I mean, there's something interesting looking at this because it's almost like a use of modern materials to play on the traditional red brick and copper clad bay of like a more traditional row house. But I wonder about the use of the green up at the cornice in any of the schemes. With the other building mass that's a little farther down Webster with with the lighter one. It's just a simple, dark gray coping, probably just a metal coping there. I wonder, does it want to be the same thing here at the top of the red panel? Do you want to just keep the green at the base and just let the coping kind of fade back?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great idea. We were trying to kind of really make these buildings feel different, or the sides of it. So it is an easy move to kind of have that cornice provide some different variation. Um, but certainly we could look at it.
Yeah. So I agree with my colleagues about, and you, Phil, about the preferred. I think there's no corner like that in Somerville, as far as I know. So, it has a unique identity. I wonder, so that the ground floor of that corner is residential, correct?
Oh yeah, whole
And
building
so
residential.
I'm wondering if it's not treated differently in terms of the fence, which, right now it's also sinking in the concrete, and stuff, and that maybe that one is not a door, that feels like a vulnerable place for a door. I don't
Mhm.
know if it's probably, it might be the only unit that does have an exterior entry. Is that true? I mean, are there other ground floor units that have? Yeah, it just feels like
No, it's all.
it's too prominent a corner to have a door there and have it going into a
Mhm.
unit. So I
Mhm.
feel like maybe there's another landscape solution. You do have to keep people from, as I was saying, from, hitting their head, but maybe there is something, that else that defines that corner, keeps people off of it, gives that unit some protection. But it's not the same thing you have on the upper floors. And I agree about that, Tim, I agree about the green. It's a really interesting accent against the terracotta color, and I think it just becomes a trace that doesn't make sense when that color is used to define volumes. So I think it does make sense that it's a more neutral color.
That's a great point about the door. I didn't catch that at all looking at the image, but it's too public of a corner for it to be a residential unit door.
Looking at the plans correctly, that's one of the bedrooms. So having a Juliet door at grade might be a bit problematic. What I'm wondering is if I think some of the comments from the previous was that the and I to backtrack a moment, like I do think this preferred option is the best of the ones shown, and I really do think, like Deborah's saying, that it's a super unique corner. And I'm quite into it. I just do think, there's that ground floor. I'm wondering if there's some way, I don't know if just even extruding it, like not having, having the ground floor, like the ground floor unit actually come to that point. I don't know if that makes sense, or if just having some kind of like solid treatment again, so it's not like an entry point or even like an open, a door, but just having that come down as, just treating the ground floor as a different condition. I'm not an architect, so I can't think of what the thing to do there would be, but just to have that differentiated from the top three, which I think the top three have a really nice rhythm to them and have a really nice presence over the street. But then I think, yeah, that ground floor is a little tricky.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it even wants a window, and I don't know if there's enough natural light. It's going to be there. There's going to be, blinds closed on it all the time. Because it does feel pretty exposed.
There's a condition kind of kitty corner to this site, a building that was built probably 8 or 9 years ago, that has a condition where the street again is sloping up to the corner. There's windows that get very short, and it's into a retail space. And it's kind of weird on the corner because they have such a small, diminutive scale at the ground floor, and all the upper floor windows are bigger. I guess there's the possibility of that happening here as well, because it looks like the windows at the ground level are smaller than the upper floor windows.
Yeah, on the corner they are.
Great. Any other comments before we move to a vote? So it sounds to me like we're ready to at least vote on the first option, and approve the facade. Next would be the design guidelines for the MR4 district. And then last is the additional design guidance to these recommendations that we've been talking about.
I've just got two more comments.
Please.
One, it looks in this image, it looks like the fiber cement panels aren't coming all the way down to the sidewalk, that there's some type of water course there, a stone base or something like that. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And then also just the fence options that you showed. If we can go to
Let me see.
that.
Let me
Yeah.
see if I can do side by side. Not really, but good enough.
So I guess with the transformer going underground into a vault, does the fence still need to be 6 feet tall? So I'm thinking about the
No,
actual
you could.
perceived height of that next to the adjacent property as the street slopes away. I'm wondering what that actual change in height from the top of the fence to that property is. And maybe there's a way to bring the fence down and have it be a little more diminutive.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we could definitely do it to like the first floor kind of foundation too. That would be a nice datum point and lower it. Looks like 18 inches or so.
Yeah. I guess what actually is it enclosing then? Is it just
It's
landscaping?
just yeah, it's just a fence to kind of keep people from going into there. But that's it. It comes straight off the building here.
And those pavers are are those at a different elevation than sidewalk level?
They're at just about the same
Um,
elevation as sidewalk level.
Huh.
Yeah, I know that the transformer needs to be kind of at a level height, so yeah, they'll kind of slope a little bit with the sidewalk until they're at the transformer.
Yeah, it would be nice, I, I don't know what the solution is here, but maybe this is an area that the landscape design of this could be studied a little more because it feels a bit like a lost space here if it's just fenced off and inaccessible.
And any more comments from the commission? Doesn't look like it. So it seems like we are ready to vote on the facade, and it seems like the commission was leaning towards the first option. So can I get a motion to approve option A, that creates the sort of corners of the building?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Deborah, second by Frank, and now a roll call vote. Deborah,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
and Martin.
Yes.
Great. The motion passes. And next we will vote on design guidelines, that those have been met for the MR4 district. Can I get a motion for this?
Motion.
Thank you, Frank. And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Martin. And now a roll call vote. Deborah,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Great. And so this motion also passes. And last but not least is the motion for additional design guidance to the recommendations, which includes one, confirming the feasibility of an above ground transformer, and confirming that with Eversource.
Feasibility of a below ground transformer, the
Below
manhole.
ground, exactly, below ground transformer, and then reviewing and confirming the height of the overhanging bays, the treatment color of the cornice, and then defining the ground unit. And lastly is the or defining the fence options as well, and that space that is around the transformer.
I would add providing an alternate to the transformer being above ground possibility in case a manhole is rejected by Eversource. So it would be good to have that and to be able to look at that.
Great.
By alternate, are you suggesting an indoor vault? Just working out what that would mean for the building?
Right. I mean, I think that we would need to know what would be the option if Eversource at a certain point says, no, we don't want a manhole. What would be the alternate, right? So it's either outside somewhere, like it was presented before. I don't think that you can put it in, but you could do an alcove or you can do a vault. But I think there needs to be, we need to see an alternative, right, Tim? Like, not just like, oh, I don't know what happened. This is where I put it.
Yeah, unless there is confirmation from Eversource that they're comfortable with.
Yes. Yeah. Agree. But
No,
that needs to just.
that makes sense. And but I'd say, yeah, either an acceptable outdoor alternative or.
What we're saying, I think what we would say is like, we are approving a manhole transformer. And if that does not get approved by Eversource, we would like to review the option as to where it's being put on.
Great.
Does that
Great.
sound fair, Tim?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
And quick question. Hi, this is Ryan Wittig. I'm representing the ownership group. We had previously presented the pad mounted transformer in our first presentation. Phil might have that, so I mean we can revert back to that and show that it was in our first round of design proposals. The reason we put it as an underground manhole transformer was in response to community, I don't want to say demands, but strong requests. So we were trying to cater to the feedback we got from JT Scott and some of the neighbors. And now, obviously we hear your concerns and we voiced those concerns as well originally. So I don't know if Phil has the original proposal that we had first presented. That wouldn't change. So we can show that now.
No, I think we appreciate the effort that you went through to locate it below grade and desire to do that. That is a better solution for sure. I think what Frank's voicing is a concern that if it turns out that that's simply not feasible, is there a third alternative that hasn't been explored yet? Either modifications to the building design to address the concerns that the neighborhood has addressed about proximity of the transformer to the public realm and neighbors, or putting it in an indoor vault, as is, relatively typical.
If you're familiar with the Union Square and that project that we're referring to around Bow Street as it goes into the market basket, in which we approved a particular area for the transformer, and then the transformer was moved in front of the building because of a request from Eversource, and that was not what we had approved, and nobody said anything, and then everybody's screaming about it. So it's just trying to create more of a open communication and understanding communication with Eversource guys and what is acceptable so that everybody's happy with it, because that's why the community's probably screaming at seeing it on the outside. They just want to make sure that it's confirmed, and the last thing that they want to hear is like, I can't do anything about it. Eversource wants this.
Sure.
So earlier discussions are actually better. I think that's what we're saying.
Fair point. So my question to the committee here is, will this approval decision that allows us to move forward to go to our next community meeting and the planning board, is that dependent on getting some feedback and resolution from Eversource?
I would say that you should at least schedule a meeting and talk to them.
Okay, because obviously they're their own entity and their own timelines, and
100%,
here
100%.
we go. Here we go with the timelines getting pushed out even further for more unknowns.
Yeah, no, and
Correct.
I think the request isn't to come back to us with that. It's when so your next step is to another neighborhood meeting and then planning board, to go to the planning
Yeah.
board with an update on.
Yeah.
Okay.
conversations.
We can do that.
Continue going through the process. We're saying we accept what you have. There's a condition. The condition doesn't stop you from continuing. Continue, schedule a meeting, have a discussion, ask him, hey, is this going to be allowed? And then as you're going through the process, if they say, no, Ryan, this is not acceptable, then you say, all right, at this point, let me talk to the planning board. And then we have the options that you presented. That's all we're
Very
saying.
nice.
Continue.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, so I'm going to go through what the motion is going to be. So it includes one, to confirm the feasibility of below ground transformer with Eversource, and if it is not accepted, the UDC will want to see an alternate for above ground transformer option. And that is not sort of hold up the process for following meetings. So that is the first. The second would be to review and confirm the height of overhanging bays. 3, look at the color and treatment of the cornice. 4, to define and differentiate the treatment of the ground floor along the street as well as at that corner. And then last is look at the fence options and understand that fence condition if it is still to contain that transformer area. So to look at it through landscape options and to understand also the condition of the fence and how it is meeting the ground.
Yeah, and potentially lower the fence.
Great. So can I have a motion for all of those things?
So moved.
Great. Thank you, Tim. And seconded by Frank. So we will move to a roll call vote. Deborah. You're muted, but
Yes. Sorry.
great. Tim,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
and Martin.
Yes.
Great. So this motion passes. I think that is it for the 32 Webster team.
Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
Michael. And I am going to hand it off to my co-chair, Sarah Lewis, to take on the second and last case.
Yep. Thank you, Estella. Yep, we are tapping out tonight. Both of us had other obligations at different times, so at least it worked.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Right, so good evening all. On to 1 Washington Street. So I think everybody knows the drill, but if the design team can raise their hands so Lexi can unmute and promote whoever is presenting. This is an MR4, 4-story residential building with 10 units in it. So as such, we will have to vote on facade, the design guidelines, and any additional guidance that we want to provide.
Hi everyone, I'm Matt Drosselmeyer. I'm the project manager at JTA, Joe the Architect, working on the 1 Washington Street development. With me on the call, we have Michael D'Angelo and I believe Lucy Wilson as well. They're with MDLA, the landscape architect on the job. I don't see, oh, here we go. Okay. I'm not able to share my screen. Oh.
It usually takes a minute, but Lexi's probably clicking in the background.
No worries.
I will remind if you can sort of limit your presentation to about 20 minutes. Would appreciate that. Thanks.
Of course, we'll try to stay under 10. All right, so first off, thank you to everyone in attendance today for allowing me to present the project. This is 1 Washington Street's first UDC meeting, as I'm sure you know, following the first neighborhood meeting that we had on June 30th. So I'll give a brief intro to the project, and then we can open it at the end to comments and questions. So first off, we have our site plan. Well, I guess I should confirm. Is everyone seeing my screen? Okay. So first off, we have our site plan or our survey. 1 Washington Street is approximately a 3,400 square foot lot zoned in the MR4 district, abutting NR districts on the north and east of the site. Our goal for this project was to build everything by right with no special variances. And the two things I mentioned earlier are largely what drives the dimensional requirements and setbacks of the building. So we have a 12-foot curb setback around Washington Street and Crescent Street, and a 30-foot top floor setback where we abut the NR districts at the north and east of the lot. That would be 6 Crescent Street and 88 Mount Vernon Street. Most of the area directly abutting those lots will be landscaped and hardscaped to create some buffers between the buildings and allow for some outdoor space on the site, which you'll see here on the next slide. So here we have our landscape plan showing the proposed outdoor space on the site. We do have 3 existing trees on the back of the site, which we've determined are an invasive species, so they will be removed and replaced with new, in addition to the new hardscape and landscaping around the property. In addition to creating a new 10-unit multifamily building, we do want to improve the character of the street, allow for some additional greenery and outdoor space, improve the existing curb cut along Crescent Street, and create a better intersection at Washington Street. As I mentioned, we did have our neighborhood meeting about a month back, and the intersection at Washington Street and Crescent Street, which is this one right here, was a big topic of concern. So we certainly want to make sure we improve that junction. Moving on to the building plans. As I mentioned, we don't want to seek any variance for the proposed development. So the building will stay within the 4-story and under 50-foot height requirement by zoning code. The basement will be where the building services will be provided, like trash room, unit storage, bike storage, utility, as well as provide 2 additional bedrooms for the ground floor duplex unit at the rear of the building. The ground floor will have another 2 one-bedroom units with space for mail and packaging at the front and a small common area. The entry will be slightly set back to allow some buffer from the curb and provide a little shade at the entrance as well. Second floor will have a mix of 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, with the larger 2-bedroom positioned at the front of the building to allow for views to the street, and the 1 bedrooms having balconies off Crescent Street. On the 3rd floor, those 1 bedrooms stack with the bottom of the two duplex units located at the front. And then finally in our plan, the top floor contains the remainder of the duplex units on the floor below, with the public patio at the back of the site here, to have some additional outdoor space for the residents and maintaining that top floor setback I mentioned earlier. Finally, the roof immediately above the duplexes will be private patios for those residents. So that brings our unit mix to a total of 10 units, 1 3-bedroom duplex, 2 2-bedroom duplexes, 1 traditional 2-bedroom, and 6 1-bedrooms. We have 3 options for exterior elevations using different materiality and cladding, but fenestration remains consistent throughout. So option 1 at the ground floor will use a traditional red brick, which keeps with the character of Boston, Cambridge, Somerville, and grounds the building in a nice way, while the top floor being mostly designed with a light hardy panel. We'll use wood panel siding at the bay window bump outs to provide some accent to the building and break up the large masses as you round the corner of Crescent Street. Our side elevation will match the hardy paneling throughout, but you'll see, given that this is the location of our core and we don't yet know what may come of that property adjacent to us at 3 Washington Street, there are no openings on this elevation. Option 2 uses a similar strategy, but implementing some darker tones in the building. We use this black board and batten siding as sort of a band that wraps the building and grounds the corner of Washington Street in a nice way. And using this darker tone at the top sort of makes the building feel a little smaller and not super daunting right at this corner. These are side elevations, side elevation again. Finally, option 3, we explored using a large format tile throughout, so a little more monotone in this option, and then blackboard and batten comes back and serves as the accent to the building that the wood was providing in the previous schemes. Side elevations, and then finally our exterior elevations, our 3D renderings, which show the building from different viewpoints in context with 7 Washington Street, which is actually a project that Joe the architect, underwent the entitlement process just a few years back. So we have the view from across Washington Street. This is the view from the corner of Crescent and Washington Street. Option 2 is your axon view. You'll see that band kind of providing, a connection around Crescent Street. View from the corner. And then option 3 is your large format tile with those dark board and batten accents replacing the wood. And then last but not least, we have our exploration of how the sun will be hitting the building throughout the year, which shows that most of the shadows are cast across Crescent Street. And then given our top floor setback from the NR districts at the rear and right of the site, or plan right of the site, it shows that the shadows are not too dissimilar from the building that's existing there. And that's all I have for today. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll open it up to comments.
Can I ask a question to begin with? So do you have a preferred option?
Yeah, so our preferred option would be option 1, which is the one I'm showing here on the screen. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
What is the mechanical systems that you're using, Matt?
So we'd likely do mini split systems throughout for the units. We haven't fully dived into that yet in terms of the overall building systems, but that's kind of our idea. And then obviously everything would be electrical. And
so where would everything exist? The fan coil units would be on the roof?
Yes, so we do have a space. Let me go back to my roof plan. So we do have a space designated back here adjacent to those duplex private patios that will allocate for the rooftop mechanical.
And are there washers and dryers in the units?
Yes.
How are you exhausting them?
We would propose to do ventless.
Ventless. Is there anything being vented, side vented on the walls? Bathroom. How are the bathrooms and the kitchens being vented?
That is a good point. The bathroom vents will need to allocate on the facade and show here, and obviously keep away from the operable portions of the windows. So we don't have those shown yet here, but that is something we can certainly do for the next meeting to
Right.
kind of delineate where those are.
So I would say that that's definitely something that you should definitely look for the next one, where these vents are being located and what they look like, where they were falling, and to just make sure that we explore that on that. So I think that that would be key to explore.
Absolutely. Okay.
When also another question that I had pertaining to just materiality, when you say wood paneling siding, can you tell me more about what the wood paneling is?
So I think we probably use a wood look like paneling, not a true wood.
Okay. Which
That
would
would
be
that would
like a Nichiha or
yeah, we haven't specifically determined exactly what that is, but I would say something like that.
right. So I would ask for clarification on that as well then, what it is. I would hate for actual real wood to be used in those areas. I've been seeing some of that deteriorating badly, and I would like to see what then the option of the wood like paneling is, whether it's an Ichiha or whatever other product you're proposing. So that would be important to understand as well on that.
Understood. Yeah, totally not a true wood, but we'll determine the specifics of it for sure.
I'm good for now, guys. So anybody else?
I have some questions. I'm trying to understand how this fits into the context. I think I know where this is, but I'm not 100% sure. And to evaluate them, and I'm suspicious that number one is the strongest, what do you call it, approach out of the three. But just not being able to see this in the way that people see it, and not knowing what the context is really. And I don't know if that's required. I thought that was required for our submissions. So I'm a little, I wish I knew, I feel like would feel more certain about how this fits into this corner, and actually what corner this is, and is Chester, is that one way or two ways? Where's the larger context, where's where are most people walking, where's transit and bus stops, all that stuff. So I mean, I feel like that really enhances the conversation we could have.
Is this like by Tulum? Is it?
It's right next to Tulum. I was about to say that, Frank. So between these two buildings is Tulum Mexican restaurant.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And if it helps, of course, we can zoom out a little bit in this view, just so we see more of the context of the city, but also we can put together a plan that sort of zooms out and kind of shows exactly where we're located in terms of, train stops and bus locations and things like that.
I guess what made me realize this is I don't quite know what that side elevation is like, how much of it is exposed. Maybe if you did pull out of this view, that we would see that it's completely exposed, but I actually don't remember that. I do have this pulled up, but context. So the context, oh no, there is a building on Crescent Street right adjacent to it. Yeah, but it's not shown in your model. It's how's this experience? We're all architects, so we can imagine better than most people.
Yeah,
but,
I think that you need to add Tulum.
Yeah. But my suspicion is that this first scheme is the strongest one.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, I'd lean in the same direction towards the first option. I think understanding the specific products that you're proposing will be important. Kind of like the last presentation where they said specifically we're using Aquatone. I know, there's probably multiple different types of products you could use, but just a range of specific options would be helpful. Just looking at the elevations, one thing that jumped out at me, I'm curious about your approach to fenestration and window openings. It seems like there's a number of different kind of proportions and sizes of window openings, some that almost look double hung, some that look more casement-like, and then like an industrial type of window at the corner.
Yeah, so for as far as like the sort of like industrial look was just kind of opening up that corner and activating that as much as we possibly could. And then we tried to keep consistent where we have the taller windows at the bump outs or the wood like bump outs, just to kind of mimic that, and then the smaller kind of punctured openings where the building's kind of set back. That was our approach.
I think that probably makes sense in terms of the internal layouts and proximity relationship to context. I think overall it maybe results in a composition that could feel a little more unified. And maybe that's just kind of revisiting how all of these parts and pieces hang together as one unified composition. Is it adjusting the proportion of some of the pieces? Especially the kind of industrial proportion piece next to the double hung proportion piece feels a little off. But maybe there's a way to kind of aggregate your individual punched unit to create the larger expanses of glass that you're looking for. So because it's not a huge building, it's a relatively small building. So it feels like it all wants to hang together.
Right.
Yeah, Tim, along those lines, I was thinking the same thing between the first floor base. I like the brick a lot, but it seems like it needs more articulation than just the punched windows in the brick. And perhaps there's a way to bring some of the base down or get more of that interaction between those elements from the sort of upper floors onto the ground floors as well, was where I was seeing it.
Okay.
And is it the intent as well to have a continuous railing at the rooftop? It's like a cornice? And
Yes.
and what is it?
So above is those rooftop patios that are designated specifically for the duplexes, and then what you're seeing back here is the railing for the patio below. So it is only a half height railing. We do want to extend the parapet a little bit, so it's not a full, true railing around. But like you said, to what is it? The specifics of what's actually implemented, we can sort of further explore and how that actually feels when you're up at the top of those patio spaces.
I think that would be good.
Yeah, and I would like to know more about the materials, like brick, a red brick, So what kind of construction is it? I think, to Sarah's point, it's it's a nice feature here. If it's detailed well, and it feels real. And there's some depth to it. And I was curious, like how deep the bay windows are. Are they, because the brick and then the hardy board, or is it more of what is it, an equitone kind of product? But those are coplanar relationships. I think the success of this is going to be how they're separated, whether they're coplanar or this or slightly different, or there's detailed joints, as you come to changes in materials. So
yeah, I agree with you. It's like I see the brick ending, and then I see the other material, then I just don't see anything. Like it's just like a line. Yeah, I agree with you, Deborah.
Yeah, and I think the whole, the windows, the way the windows are framed and all that, I think it's all, not that I know you're really early on designed, but I think those are important things. And just to understand the systems you're using with these materials, I think gives us some clues. And it is a small building, but I think, it could be not, there could be some nice details. And the ground plane, of course, is, the public realm is the most important place, and that's where you have brick. So it'd be I think it'd be great, to understand that especially better.
And Matt, a question for you. Does this building have to be a passive house building?
Yes, we would pursue fire certification.
So the one
And
thing that, go ahead.
I was just going to say that exploration is actually ongoing with the passive house consultant right now.
Okay.
So we do honestly, actually this week we expect to have a little more information from them on what the systems in place are actually going to be.
And the only reason that I asked that, or we asked that as well, is because there's always the intent of like, this is how big we want the windows to be. This is how great we like them. And then you go through the modeling and then you have to shrink the windows because you're not compliant. So then the facade in itself and the reading of it begins to change. So I think that it would be important for that, the consultant's modeling to really reflect what the fenestration component is going to be and whether you can have these beautiful corner windows, or they will be minimized, because we would like to understand exactly that the fenestration is compliant, what we're approving with that.
Yeah. So we were working. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say we've been working through them closely with them through schematic design. Like I said, we are planning to get their kind of feasibility analysis of that within the next week or so. So we'll have a better idea of what we're proposing is doable. But they have seen this. And they're working directly with our model to kind of determine their assessment of it. So yeah, we'll have that information certainly on the next meeting for sure.
I was simply going to put my Andrew hat on for a hot second, since we're all architects right now on this call. Could you show us the site plan again? And let's have a quick conversation about transformer locations.
Yeah, so right now our transformer location is right here at the corner of Crescent. We of course it has to be accessible, so we wanted to locate it as close to Crescent Street as possible, but didn't want to sacrifice too much building space in that. So it's positioned right here in this white square.
Is it framed by screened by anything, or what's this
Yeah, it would be on a transformer pad and screened.
with some kind of wood
The fence around.
Yeah, some kind of, okay.
Yeah, on the landscape plan it shows there's a fence that goes around the back portion of the property. It's a double line.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But it's screening the transformer from the proposed building, not the neighbor.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It looks like it's the Crescent Street building right next to it gets a lot of transformer, but
if you zoom in on it, so the fence comes all the way down to the front of it. So you got to use a double line. So that
I see. Got it. Oh, I see that double line. I was looking at the wrong double line.
We can't put it any further down because we need to maintain access.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, so commission.
Are we gonna let Michael D'Angelo speak at all, or?
Just really here to answer questions, but I can tell you.
Michael is like, I don't often see you, so I want to hear what you got to say.
Nice to see you, Frank. As Matt said, the trees in the back, there were some existing trees, but they're tree of heaven. They're coming out. They're pretty nasty. And then we have some new trees going in, some flowering trees. The AA are Amelanchiers. The UA is an elm, more of an upright species, so it won't grow into that house right there. And then in the front, we have a few multi-stem Amelanchiers that will sit, right underneath that kind of protrusion of the building that comes out. And then below that, we have tough, tolerant plant material that should do well along that sidewalk condition. I do want to point out right now, if you were to look at Street View or go out there, the roadway kind of just comes right into where the proposed building is. So we are proposing kind of continuing the sidewalk you'll see that double line there where it says 40 DC. which is good because right now, like I said, it's like flush situation right from the road into the building. So the sidewalk will continue. Also closing off a curb cut along the main road. If you see the double line on Washington, there's an existing curb cut to the left.
Oh, yeah,
In front
sorry.
of yeah, that's getting closed off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not adding street trees just because there's some utilities and there's the overhead wires right there.
Thanks.
Should we take a motion to continue the project?
Yes.
I was gonna see if you wanted to at least sort of take a motion on the facade
Now,
option.
sure. I think everybody agreed. I think everybody agreed that option 1, correct?
Correct.
I
Yep.
think we're leaning towards that. I'd ask Deborah if she's comfortable with that,
Deborah?
You brought up the
Yeah.
comment about the site plan.
I am, but it would be great with the next meeting to have a better understanding of how this fits in the context and how people will experience it.
Okay, then let's not take a vote, and we'll take a vote for continuance, knowing that everybody is leaning towards option 1. So at least that helps the team sort of move forward with their explorations. So can I get a motion to continue 1 Washington to our next meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Yeah.
I think Martin got the motion, and I'm going to go with Deborah because I see her first on my screen. Sorry, Frank. Roll call vote. Frank.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Deborah.
Yes.
And Martin.
Yes.
All right. So thank you, team. We will see you at the next meeting. I believe your case planner is Lexi, so work with her to get on that agenda. Thank you all.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks.
All right. And I believe that is our last item for the evening. So, next we have your favorite motion of all.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Frank. Do we have a second? Seconded by Deborah, enthusiastically. Roll call vote. Frank.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Deborah.
Yes.
And Martin.
Yes.
All right. On that note, please
Before we
note
go,
that the
before we
meeting
go,
is adjourned at 7:09.
Uh-oh, Tim.
What'd I forget?
Martin, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Tim.
I was going to say, yeah, too. Martin, welcome.
Oh, that didn't happen at the beginning. Sorry. Yes, welcome, Martin.
Frank and I said hello earlier, but Tim snuck on right when we were getting started. So,
welcome to the show, Martin.
Yeah, just getting used to the action
Martin
here.
at the last meeting.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all. Have a good
night,
evening.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.